In a vibrant African village nestled between lush green hills lived a young woman named Amina. She was known for her bright smile, kind heart, and her dream of becoming the village's best storyteller. Amina's tales were filled with magic, adventure, and lessons that captivated everyone who listened. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, villagers gathered around a large baobab tree to hear Amina's stories. Her voice was melodic, and her gestures animated, bringing her tales to life. The village thrived on her words, and Amina felt a deep sense of fulfillment in sharing her gift. One day, as Amina was preparing for her evening story session, a mysterious stranger arrived in the village. He was tall and lean, with piercing eyes that seemed to hold secrets of the world. His clothes were unlike anything the villagers had seen, made from exotic fabrics that shimmered in the sunlight. The villagers were curious but cautious. Who was this man, and what brought him to their peaceful home? Amina, always welcoming, approached him with a warm smile and introduced herself. The stranger introduced himself as Kofi, a wanderer from a distant land. Kofi explained that he was a traveler seeking knowledge and new experiences. He had heard of Amina's storytelling and was intrigued. Amina, flattered by his interest, invited him to join the evening storytelling session. The villagers, eager to learn more about Kofi, gathered around the baobab tree that night with heightened anticipation. That night, as Amina began her tale, Kofi listened intently, his eyes never leaving her. There was something in his gaze that made Amina uneasy, but she continued, determined to entertain her audience. After her story ended, Kofi stood up and asked if he could share a tale of his own. The villagers, always open to new experiences, encouraged Kofi to share. He began to weave a story unlike any they had heard before, dark and mesmerizing, filled with twists and turns that left the listeners spellbound. As he spoke, Amina felt a strange chill, sensing that his story held a deeper meaning. As the days passed, Kofi's influence in the village grew. He shared more stories, each one darker and more enthralling than the last. Amina noticed that the villagers were becoming more enchanted by Kofi's tales, and her own stories began to lose their luster. Doubt started to creep into her heart. One evening, after another one of Kofi's gripping tales, Amina confronted him. She asked him why he had come to their village and what his true intentions were. Kofi's expression turned serious, and he revealed that he was seeking the legendary storyteller's amulet, said to be hidden in their village. The storyteller's amulet was a mythical artifact believed to grant unparalleled storytelling abilities to its bearer. Amina had heard of the legend but never believed it to be true. Kofi's revelation shook her, and she realized that his presence was not just a coincidence. He was here to claim something precious to her and the village. Determined to protect her village and her legacy, Amina decided to search for the amulet herself. She believed that if the amulet truly existed, it belonged with someone who cherished the art of storytelling for the joy it brought to others, not for power or control. Amina embarked on her journey, guided by clues from the village elders and her own intuition. She ventured through dense forests, crossed rivers, and climbed steep hills, all the while reflecting on the stories that had shaped her and her village. Each step brought her closer to understanding the true power of storytelling. Back in the village, Kofi continued to tell his stories, but the villagers sensed something was amiss. They missed Amina's warmth and genuine passion for storytelling. Whispers of her quest spread, and the villagers began to hope for her return, realizing the true value of her presence among them. After days of arduous travel, Amina reached a hidden cave deep within the hills. She felt a strange energy as she entered, sensing that the amulet was near. Guided by an inner light, she found the storyteller's amulet resting on an ancient pedestal. As she reached for it, a vision of her village appeared, reminding her of the love and connection her stories brought to her people. As Amina journeyed back to her village, she felt the amulet's power guiding her steps. Each day brought new challenges, but with each challenge, she grew stronger and more resolute. She encountered wild animals, treacherous terrains, and unpredictable weather, but the amulet's energy seemed to protect and guide her. Meanwhile, in the village, Kofi noticed the villagers' growing restlessness. He sensed their longing for Amina's return and their dwindling interest in his stories. Determined not to lose his grip on the village, Kofi decided to use his own skills to find the amulet. He set off on his own quest, leaving the villagers with a mix of hope and apprehension. Amina, unaware of Kofi's pursuit, continued her journey with a renewed sense of purpose. She stopped at a serene riverbank to rest and reflect. The tranquil sound of the flowing water reminded her of the stories she had shared with her village, and she felt a deep connection to her roots and her people. As Amina meditated by the river, she had a vision of her village in turmoil, with Kofi's influence growing stronger in her absence. She knew she had to return quickly to restore balance and reclaim her place as the village storyteller. With a sense of urgency, she resumed her journey, determined to reach her home before it was too late. Back in the village, the elders grew increasingly worried about Amina's prolonged absence. They gathered under the baobab tree to discuss their concerns. They knew the importance of the storyteller's amulet and the balance it brought to their community. They decided to send out a search party to find Amina and bring her back safely. As the search party prepared to leave, Kofi encountered them on his way back to the village. Realizing the villagers were taking action, he concocted a plan to divert their attention and buy himself more time. He told them he had seen Amina heading in the wrong direction and offered to help guide them. Amina meets an old woman by the roadside, her face lined with wisdom and kindness. The old woman introduced herself as Nana, a seer who had long awaited Amina's arrival. Nana told Amina that her journey was part of a larger destiny and that she must trust her instincts and the power of the amulet. She gave Amina a small vial of healing herbs and a blessing for safe travels. With Nana's blessing, Amina felt a surge of confidence. She thanked the seer and continued on her way, more determined than ever to return to her village and protect it from Kofi's influence. She knew that the true power of the amulet lay not just in its magic, but in the stories and wisdom she carried within her. As Amina journeyed onward, she could feel the amulet's power resonating with her inner strength. Every step brought her closer to the village, and every heartbeat echoed her resolve. Along the way, she encountered more signs that the path she was on was the right one. Animals seemed less wary of her presence, and the natural world itself seemed to guide her. Meanwhile, the search party, misled by Kofi, found themselves lost in a dense part of the forest. Frustration and doubt began to set in. The villagers started to question Kofi's intentions, sensing that he might not be as trustworthy as he appeared. Despite his attempts to maintain control, the group's unity began to waver. Back in the village, the elders noticed the growing unrest. Without Amina's stories, the communal bond that held the village together was weakening. They decided to hold a gathering to remind the villagers of their shared history and values, hoping to strengthen their resolve until Amina's return. Amina, feeling the amulet's guidance, reached a high cliff overlooking a vast valley. The view was breathtaking, and she took a moment to appreciate the beauty of her homeland. In the distance, she could see the familiar outline of her village, giving her a renewed sense of urgency and purpose. As she descended the cliff path, Amina felt the presence of someone following her. She turned to see Kofi emerging from the shadows, his expression a mix of surprise and determination. He confronted her, demanding the amulet, claiming it was rightfully his. Amina, clutching the amulet, stood her ground. She told Kofi that the amulet belonged to those who used it to share stories and wisdom, not for personal gain or power. Kofi, angered by her words, lunged towards her, but the amulet's protective energy repelled him. Realizing he could not take the amulet by force, Kofi retreated, vowing to find another way to claim it. Amina watched him disappear into the forest, her heart pounding, but her resolve stronger than ever. She knew she had to reach the village quickly to protect her people from Kofi's schemes. As night fell, Amina made camp near a small stream. She used the herbs Nana had given her to make a soothing tea, helping her relax and gather her thoughts. She knew that her journey was nearing its most critical point and that she needed all her strength for what lay ahead. Back in the village, The elders' gathering had helped restore some hope among the villagers. They shared stories of resilience and unity, reminding everyone of the strength they had when they stood together. The villagers, inspired by the elders' words, began to prepare for Amina's return, hoping she would bring the balance they needed. As Amina slept by the stream, she dreamed of her village and the people she loved. In her dream, she saw herself standing before the villagers, the amulet glowing brightly. She shared stories of her journey, the lessons she had learned, and the power of community and storytelling. The dream filled her with a sense of peace and purpose. Waking up with the first light of dawn, Amina felt a renewed energy. She knew it was time to return to her village and reclaim her role as the storyteller. With the amulet's power and the lessons from her journey, she felt ready to face any challenges that awaited her. As Amina approached the village, she saw the familiar outline of the baobab tree and the thatched roofs of the huts. The villagers were gathered, their eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of her return. When they spotted her, a cheer erupted and they rushed to meet her with open arms and joyous tears. Amina embraced her friends and family, feeling the warmth of their welcome. She walked to the center of the village and held up the amulet, its light shining brightly. She began to tell the story of her journey, the challenges she faced, the wisdom she gained, and the true power of the amulet. Kofi, watching from the shadows, realized the depth of Amina's bond with her people and the genuine power of her storytelling. He felt a pang of regret for his actions and slowly stepped forward, admitting his misdeeds. He asked for forgiveness, expressing his desire to learn from Amina and the village. Amina, embodying the spirit of forgiveness and understanding, accepted Kofi's apology. She welcomed him into their circle, believing in the power of redemption and the strength of community. The villagers, inspired by her example, embraced Kofi as well, ready to teach him the true values they cherished. From that day on, the village thrived. With the amulet safely in Amina's care, the stories she told were more powerful and resonant than ever. Kofi became a part of the community, learning the true essence of storytelling and the importance of sharing wisdom and joy. The village was stronger, united by the tales that connected their past, present, and future. The moral of the story is that true power lies not in seeking control, but in fostering connections, understanding, and forgiveness. It is through sharing our stories and embracing our communities that we find our true strength and purpose.